Well, I knew it was bound to happen, and of course I'm making this video because an area in the Pine Barrens that I love is under attack by the town of Riverhead, and they are dumping these cars there on the runways, basically. These are cars that were damaged by the flooding from Ida. Again, you'd never see this happen on the South Shore, only the middle of the island. And it's in the Pine Barrens to boot, in this beautiful area here by EPCAL, as you know that we were in back in the spring. So let's read this article. News 12. I can't even find it on their website. They covered it for literally 15 seconds. They didn't even send a reporter. Can't even find it on their website. So here we go. Here's the article from Riverhead Local. Auto fire at Calverton Runway enrages residents who oppose storage of flood-damaged vehicles there. So here you go. In the Pine Barrens, there was a vehicle fire, right? Because they're storing flood-damaged cars there. How is this even allowed in the Pine Barrens, in the core preservation area? How is this allowed? This would never happen in New Jersey. I guarantee it. They would never allow it. But no, not on Long Island. So a fire last night on the Calverton runway where flood-damaged cars are being stored has alarmed local residents who objected to the storage arrangement to begin with out of concerns about possible environmental impacts, prompting one angry resident to demand their immediate removal. And I think they should be removed immediately. Kelly McClinchy, who lives in a Manaville neighborhood just south of the former Grumman facility, which is owned by the town, and has been an outspoken advocate for the extension of public water to the approximately 60 homes in the area, today demanded that the town remove the vehicles immediately. McClinchy went to the podium during a special town board called today on an unrelated matter to renew her complaints about the town storing flood-damaged vehicles on the runway. When you passed a resolution a few weeks ago to put these cars out there, which really never even made the news. This is like news to me. I just found out about this. Some of the residents throughout Riverhead came to the microphone and they told you what their thoughts were, what their concerns were, and every single one of the five of you passed that resolution anyway. I contacted you by email. The only response I received was from the town clerk doing a job saying she received my email. Not one of you responded to my concerns. Not one, she said. We came here for the water forum, and I brought it up that night, McClinchy said, referring to a public forum held by the town board last month about water quality issues in the town. When we expressed our concerns to you again, and we clearly said a fire at the site is going to be dangerous. And what happened? 7 days later, exactly 1 week from the water forum, those cars went on fire. You put our police department at risk, yet you put Manaville Fire Department at risk, and you put those residents at risk, McClinchy said. This is all on five of you. When I asked questions about it on the water forum, you deferred to your attorney and deferred to Riverhead Water District Superintendent Frank Mancini. When I asked questions to the board, I don't want to hear from them. I want to hear from you. What you have done is wrong. And I'm here to tell you, get rid of those cars in EPCAL and do it immediately. We don't care about your contract. We don't care about how much money you're putting in your pocket at our expense. Get rid of them before someone gets hurt. Very good speech there from that person. Board members did not respond, except for the town supervisor who said, "Thank you for your comment." Yvette Aguiar, she's the one who also is pushing it, has the racing there too. This is in the Pine Barrens. Let me remind you. The fire last night torched 5 vehicles parked on the edge of the 7,000-foot inactive runway at the former Grumman site, known as Enterprise Park at Calverton or EPCAL. According to police, they received a call at 11:24 p.m. about a vehicle explosion at the site, and arriving officers found a vehicle later identified as a Tesla fully engulfed in flames. Now, probably the batteries. And they're saying, oh, they removed the fluids. No, they're not. They're not doing that. They're just treating the middle of the island as a dumping ground once again. The flames spread to 4 other nearby vehicles, including 3 other electric vehicles. The electric vehicles are parked separate from the gasoline-powered vehicles. Riverhead Police Chief David Hagermiller said in an interview this morning, batteries in the gas-powered vehicles are disconnected for storage as to avoid fires, but the batteries in electric-powered vehicles can't be disconnected and remain energized. That's why they are parked in an area separate from other vehicles. There's a great picture there of some of the damage there. Town attorney Robert Kozakovic said he believes that there are about a dozen electric vehicles being stored on the runway, not including hybrids. He said the total number of vehicles being stored there fluctuates, as some come and some are removed daily. When last he heard, there were about 1,500 vehicles parked there. The town leased the runway following Superstorm Sandy in 2012 to some insurance auto auctions. That agreement drew sharp criticism from some environmental advocates. However, there were no fires and other incidents reported after that. In February 2014, the town signed an option agreement with the company, agreeing to lease the runway again in the event of another catastrophic event. IAA paid $25,000 per year for the option. The company exercised its right under the option agreement after the remnants of Hurricane Ida dumped record rainfall on the New York metro area September 2nd. Under the current agreement, IAA will pay the town $4,175 per acre per month for the 52.5 acres on the inactive runway and taxiway. So it comes out to about $219,187.50 per month for 3 months, prorated in September due to an existing agreement with a drag racing promoter that affected the runway's availability at the beginning of the month. IAA has the option under the agreement to renew for 2 additional 90-day periods. Residents near the former Navy site, which has documented groundwater and soil pollution problems as a result of military aircraft manufacturing, testing, and fire training activities there over the decades of Northrop Grumman's occupancy, objected to the new lease right away. Some spoke out at a special Community Development Agency meeting September 8th before the board voted to approve the runway use agreement with the IAA. The town board members sit as the governing body of the CDA. In a September 9th email to the town board, McClinchy said she was appalled by the board's decision to approve the agreement. Storage of damaged, salvage, and junk vehicles presents a danger of leakage of various contaminants, she wrote, expressing fear that potential contamination from leaking vehicles would worsen water quality issues for residents south and southeast of the facility whose private wells are already contaminated and who have no access to public water. By approving the vehicle storage, she wrote, the board created an opportunity for our water and in turn our health to continue to be negatively impacted by this polluted site. The New York State DEC confirmed earlier this month that it had signed off on the use of the runway for auto storage. That's what I mean. Our DEC is a freaking joke, all right? As long as vehicles are parked on the cement runway and not on the grass. So if they leak fluids on the cement runway, you don't think it's going to run off into the grass if it rains? Our New York State DEC is a freaking joke. The agency said today it last visited the site on September 20th and found the cars were approximately stored on concrete runways with no cars stored on grass areas. McClinchy said in an interview this morning that she has heard from numerous residents who contacted her to express outrage over last night's fire. She called for a full investigation by the DEC. McClinchy emailed the DEC to request its intervention. Because this area is hydroecologically complex and environmentally sensitive, the residents are requesting the DEC to presently and routinely visit the site and inspect it thoroughly for the presence of any contaminants that could cause further contamination to groundwater and affect the environment. If sources of possible contamination of any size are found to be present, the residents would like to work collaboratively with the DEC to ensure that those cars are removed immediately so as not to negatively impact the surrounding environment. DEC received no spill reports as a result of the incident last night. Out of an abundance of caution, DEC is investigating to confirm all appropriate steps were taken to ensure no petroleum and other contamination issues occurred during the incident. McClinchy and other residents said the runway lacks a drainage system and fluid runoff onto the unpaved area would be inevitable in the event of a leak, especially if it rains. Rain is what sparked the fire in the electric vehicle that touched off last night's conflagration. Manorville Fire Department responded to the scene with 2 engines and a tanker. Manorville Fire, and let's also remember that, well, it could also start a brush fire or even a forest fire. Manorville Fire Department Second Assistant Chief Joe Rosario said in a phone interview this morning, Riverhead Fire Department and Wading River Fire Departments responded to Manorville's mutual aid call with tankers to help supply Manorville with water. Battery fires are high risk because they are not easy to extinguish. After the fires were put out and the chief released his firefighters from the scene, one of the electric vehicles ignited again and Manorville firefighters were called back to the runway at 3 a.m. The vehicle again was fully engulfed. Unbelievable. In addition to the water, firefighters used firefighting foam to extinguish the blaze. The foam that's currently approved for use by environmental regulators does not contain per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances known as PFAS, a known carcinogen. Other formulas for firefighting foam did contain PFAS and posed a health risk to the firefighters as well as the soil and the groundwater. Adrienne Esposito, an executive director of the Citizens Campaign for the Environment, an advocacy group that focuses on water quality issues, says she remains very concerned about the contents of firefighting foam nonetheless. But why isn't she concerned about the cars being stored there? Who knows what other chemicals are in that stuff? Esposito and McClinchy both serve on the Navy's Restoration Advisory Board, a community-based advisory board that the Navy informs about the progress of its ongoing cleanup at the facility. The RAB acts as a liaison to the community at large. The worst thing about this is that it was predictable and preventable, Esposito said in an interview today. What happened here was absolutely foreseeable. This is what happens when they base policy solely on money and not on the environment. Well, she used to be a lot more vocal. And where is the Pine Barrens Society in all this? They haven't even gotten involved. The Long Island Pine Barrens Society. Supervisor Yvette Aguiar, who definitely needs to be voted out of office, said this afternoon the town had entered into an option agreement with IAAA in 2014, and when IAAA exercised its option after Ida, the town had no choice but to sign a new contract with the company. Breaching that agreement would have significant fiscal consequences to the town. You know, there's some things worth more than money, and that's the environment, Yvette, all right? The supervisor also said the foam used to put out the fire last night is environmentally safe. DEC said since March 2017, only farms that do not contain or break down in the environment to PFOS or PFOA are allowed to be used for firefighting. They are currently considered to be less toxic and have reduced bioaccumulative potential compared to the former C8 firefighting foams, which do not contain or break down in the environment to PFOS or PFOA, DEC said in an email. So, unbelievable. This is just an unbelievable situation here. And again, they have several articles on this too. By the way, I have another one about this. So Riverhead Local really covered this very well. Tesla was also involved in this as well. So this is another article which I'll link below. At this point, but I mean, it's disgusting what the town of Riverhead is doing to this area. We are in the Pine Barrens here, and you know, anything that happens on these runways is going to affect the woods around them and the fields. And you know, it's bad enough that they've got this drag racing going on. The Pine Barrens is no place to do drag racing. All right, it's bad enough for that. It's bad enough they have plans to still try to sell this land to a developer, even though much of our Pine Barrens is gone. Let's just continue to knock down whatever little is left, because that's the way Riverhead thinks. And they're also dumping other things there. I want to show you this picture. This was from my hike back there in April. And you will see benches and garbage bins that were used at Tanger that are also, used to be used at Tanger, also being stored there. So they're basically treating this as like a little junkyard in the middle of the Pine Barrens, let alone, all right? Because it's the middle of the island, they're dumping all the junk there. How about we dump it on the South Shore and see how they like it? No. So this is, again, all part of the quote-unquote plan that is still going on. And unfortunately, the Pine Barrens are caught in the crossfire because they lie in the middle of the island. And this is what's going on in News 12. It's nowhere on their site. I can't even find it on their site. But they do cover this because that's Sayville. They're upset against the Cells because, you know, this is something this is ridiculous. So they cover this. They spend almost 2 minutes on this, on these people in Sayville upset because a storage company wants to put a tenement at a former athletic complex. All right. So they're upset about that. That gets 2 minutes, but storing hundreds of damaged cars that catch fire in the middle of the Long Island Pine Barrens is not as important. It goes to show you who this network serves. And I got another video on that. So that's going to wrap up this one. Again, absolutely disgusting. And there's no reason for this. The DEC, our state DEC, is a freaking joke. They are a freaking joke. All right, you can look at New York DEC. They are a joke. And Governor Hochul is also a joke, unfortunately. She doesn't care about the Pine Barrens. You think she would get involved? If I was the governor, I'd say those cars are going. That's it. But no, she doesn't care. You know, she's just like Cuomo. Like I said, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. She is exactly the same as Cuomo, representing the exact same people that Cuomo represented. She represents the exact same people. All right? She really does. She really does. All right? She really does. All right, let me go to the home page for her. All right, so she represents the exact same people that Cuomo represents. Bottom line, all right, she's no different than him. It's so obvious. She's been a governor now for a month already, and nothing has changed. Nothing. So that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching.